Welcome back to the coil building tutorial series. In this video, we're going to tackle the fused Clapton. I'm Kenny. On this channel, I do build tutorials like this, other vaping related content, and content that revolves around my life. So if that sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing. If you don't want to miss upcoming videos, make sure you press the bell to be notified when I post new content. And as always, a few things before we get started. Number one, advocacy links are in the description. Make sure you use them. You can locate and contact your representatives through those links, join CASA, and everything like that. Second, links to my Amazon store, which has links to the swivels, the drill, wire, tools, everything you need to build coils is on that store. So that link will be in the description as well. And also a link to my Patreon, where if you want to help support this channel and the content that I produce, you can do so there and earn some awesome rewards in the process. I do all my giveaways there. And finally, a huge thank you to the people that are making this content possible, Nirvana CBD. Hands down the best CBD that I've ever used. If you use code SHERLOCK at nirvanacbd.com, you can get 25% off your entire order. Awesome deal on awesome CBD. Please support them as well. In the last video, we covered the Clapton. A lot of those same principles apply. As I said in that video, as we learn and grow, all the things, all the techniques that we learn kind of compound and build on each other to be able to build the more complex builds. So as opposed to the Clapton core, the fused Clapton has two cores wrapped in a smaller, thinner outer gauge wire. I'm using standard build tools today. I've got my croc swivels, my cheap corded drill, toothless pliers, flush cuts, my little coil building miniature kit here. I've got some cotton somewhere around here. Today's build, I'm going to be doing two 26 gauge cores. That's going to be 26 gauge nichrome 80, and that's going to be wrapped in 316L stainless steel. This is in metric, but so this comes out to a 36 gauge. I'm gonna start this build. If you have questions or there's something I didn't cover enough for you, leave it in the comments down below because I interact down there, answer questions. That's the best way to get a question answered. Before you start building, few things you need to know: Ohm's law, battery safety, and just basic vaping and electricity safety. Without those core components, you really should not be building. So brush up on that shit first, do your research, then start building. I'm going to be using a 3mm inner diameter. I'm shooting for 5 wraps. One principle that I kind of live by is always build more than I need, like have more wire prepped out than I need. That way if I mess up somewhere, I hopefully will have enough left over to salvage, and it's always better to waste a little bit more than not have enough. Realistically, I could probably get away with like 9 inches of finished wire here, but I'm going to pull off about a 2-foot section. I'm gonna get my spool here. And 26 nichrome is soft enough. I could probably just pull, and I'm gonna eyeball this. If you have a yardstick, you can measure exactly, and I would recommend doing so. I can probably just on the spool, just give it a pull and it'll straighten my wire out. And for the most part it did. I'm happy with that. Alternatively, you could stick one end in the chuck, grab the other with your pliers and twist until straight, like we did with the Clapton build. I'm gonna just put that down on the table. I definitely grabbed way more than I need. So I'm gonna shorten that up in just a minute. I'm taking care to really tie down my spool, make sure that doesn't go anywhere because I don't want that to despool on me. So what I do is I will grab my swivel and feed one end through and touch the other ends together. And this gives us our 2 cores for our inner cores. I run my fingers up and just pinch together up here. This doesn't have to be crazy or perfect or anything like that. We can hide a lot of our crimes with the outer wrap. So I'm gonna snip this just a little bit above the chuck. That way I have enough room on either side. I'm going to make 2 90-degree angles here, just so the teeth of the chuck have something to grab onto. And then as I place this in the drill, I'm going to make sure that my cores are centered, and each one of those little L's are going to be sticking out of a different tooth of the chuck, or one of those spaces. I'm gonna tighten this down nice and tight to make sure that's not gonna go anywhere. This is what we have. Our cores are prepped. We are ready to start wrapping this. Everything's lined up nice and straight. I've got good, easy access. This is exactly how I like to work. It doesn't matter which way you wrap this. That's a matter of preference until you get up into bigger builds. Then you kind of need to pay attention about things like that. But for this, it doesn't matter which way I go, clockwise or counterclockwise. Total preference. I see some people will take the wire and kind of wrap it around one of the legs. I just find a space inside the chuck and shove the outer wire in there and just kind of start it and let it grab. And as you can see, it doesn't matter how pretty that is in the beginning because I can snip off parts I don't need. And so I'm going to be holding my spool about 8 to 9 inches away from the core wires with a nice light pressure, just enough so that it can pull and spin freely, letting off wire to wrap the cores. I also want to be pressing tight enough that we have a nice tight wrap with no spacing. I'm gonna stay pretty damn near 90 degrees as I'm leading the wrap all the way down. Sometimes you can sit back a little bit just to make sure they're nice and tight. If you accidentally double over area you've already covered, just reverse the drill, back it off, and start again, go slow. Same with too much spacing, back it off and start again. Before we start wrapping, I do want to say thank you again to our sponsor, Nirvana CBD. Nirvana CBD is premium, broad spectrum, pure CBD, the good shit, and comes in everything from gummies to roll-ons, tinctures, anything you want, they have. They also have special compounds for recovery and sleep, which I swear by. Nirvana CBD has made a tremendous difference in my life, and they would not be sponsoring this video or this channel if I didn't believe in them. If you guys want to save 25% off your entire order, go to nirvanacbd.com and use the code Sherlock for 25% off. Supporting the sponsors helps support me and keep this content coming to you guys, so thank you so much. And thank you to Nirvana for sponsoring the video. All right, let's get rapping. So I'm just gonna rip through it, but guys, take your time. Faster doesn't mean better. You don't need to show off. It's just you in your build space. Just go slow and get it right. It's way less frustrating that way, I promise. When I get to the end, I'm just going to give it a snip and tuck my wire back on my spool tamer. I detach the chuck end first, and then I will snip off the loop from the swivel, and I'm going to give it a snip on both ends to clean it up. Unlike the Clapton, I don't have to worry about the wrap coming off, so I don't have to crimp the ends or anything. What you can do, I don't know if you can see it, but I've got a couple twists in here. I'm pretty confident these will come out as I wrap the coil, but if you want to, you can take 2 pairs of pliers, grab and twist in opposite directions, and that will pull the twists out. I'm gonna grab my 3mm bit here. One thing I neglected to mention in the last video, when you're wrapping a coil like this, you can either start under and wrap towards you, or you can start over like I do and wrap away from you. Either way is fine, whatever works for you. There's no right or wrong way as long as you're doing it safely. I like to give myself nice long leads, and I will press firmly with my thumb and just start pushing down and pulling, get it under my nail and really yank on it, pull it nice and tight and make sure everything's seated really nicely. Just like that. That's 5. I go a little bit further so they're crossing, and then I pull it. Oh. Then I pull it back and grab where they cross and pull up. Snip it. That's 1, and now we'll do the other. Like I said, I've got way more than I need. I'm actually going to do 6 wraps on this. Yeah, I'm going to go 6 wraps. And I'm going to be short on this one because I only have the 5 wraps, so I'm just going to push each side over, and hopefully that'll be enough lead to install. It should be. That should be fine. There's our 2 finished Claptons, fused Claptons. Don't forget that you can build this with any wide variety of materials, different gauges, different metals. But as you do, it's going to change the resistance that you get and how it vapes. So play around. Again, no Ohm's law before you start this. I shouldn't have to say that, but I do. And find what you like best. Play around with different materials. I personally like really fine gauge, like 40, 42 on like a 24. I really like the way something like that vapes. I like the way I'm doing it now with the 36 on a 26. Either way, it's your build, man. Do whatever you want to do. Let's stick our new coils in. That height actually looks perfect, so I am going to tighten this side down first. I'll shape them up and make them look pretty once I get them installed. With something like this, like a postless deck, you really want to make sure you cut your leads evenly, because if you have them all the way down touching the bottom, if they're not even, you're going to have one side higher than the other. Now that I have them installed, I'm going to shape them up a little bit and kind of bend them into place. I'm going to make sure that they're heating up evenly by making them glow. I want them glowing from the inside out and evenly. Just poke and prod and pull and strum if you want to. Whatever floats your boat. Space them or don't space them. Play around and find what you like, guys. And that's looking pretty good, I'd say. Yeah. I'm gonna cool this down a bit with a little dab of juice. All right, time for some cotton. I like my cotton pretty tight, so I like resistance on it as it's going through the coil. I don't want it to bend or misshapen the coil at all, but I want it to be nice and tight. I want that cotton touching every bit of the inside of the coil. Just twist one end and get it through. I don't like to waste cotton because I feel like that's just throwing money away. There we go. All right, now use the finger impalers to push the cotton in. You can brush it out if you want to thin it out a little bit. I don't necessarily see a point to that, but people swear by it. Boop, boop, boop. You just want your cotton touching the bottom. Every atomizer is different. Every rebuildable has different preferences on its own wicking, so just play around and find, tighter, looser, a little less at the deck, a little more at the deck. Just play around and figure it out. You'll get the hang of it. Just keep messing with it. I put some on and then I warm it up with the coils to make it thinner. The wicks will saturate quicker that way. Our resistance came out to a 0.19, which is exactly where I wanted to be. I wanted to be at 0.2, but this works great as well. This Ohana RDA is awesome, by the way. I haven't done a review on it yet, but I'm going to. I am loving this thing. The Fuse Clapton is a classic, man. I love this build. You really can't go wrong with a really good Fuse Clapton. The flavor's there, the performance is there. You can alter the materials that you build it with to suit any need, from like mouth to lung to crazy low competition builds. Maybe we'll tackle a 3-core Fuse Clapton next. That's actually a very, very difficult build that I usually don't waste my time on because it's so time consuming and difficult. I do get asked a lot about it, so maybe we'll tackle that one next. But if you have any comments, questions, concerns, something I missed, ask me about it down in the comments. Again, check the description for all the links for advocacy, my Amazon store, my Patreon, and Nirvana CBD, and a huge thank you to them for sponsoring this video. If you liked this video, found it helpful, make sure you like that smash button, get subscribed, and press the bell to be notified when I post another one of these. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all your support, guys. You're the best. I'm Kenny, and I will see you in the next one.